If you'd like to learn more about that, I recommend you sign up for updates at principles.com. Finally, to keep this book from becoming much too long, there is a lot of supplemental material available at economicprinciples.org, including reference materials, citations, more data on the indices, etc. Introduction. Are there limits to a country's debt and debt growth? What will happen to interest rates and all that they affect if government debt growth isn't slowed? Can a big, important country that has a major reserve currency like the U.S. go broke? And if so, what would that look like? Is there such a thing as a big debt cycle that we can track, that will tell us when to worry about debt and what to do about it? These aren't just academic questions for academic economists. They are questions that investors, policymakers, and most everyone must answer because the answers will have huge effects on all of our well-beings and what we should do. But definitive answers don't currently exist. At this time, some people believe that there isn't any limit to government debt and debt growth, especially if a country has a reserve currency. That's because they believe that the central bank of a reserve currency country that has its money widely accepted around the world can always print the money to service its debts. Others believe that the high levels of debt and rapid debt growth are harbingers of a big debt crisis on the horizon, but they don't know exactly how and when the crisis will come, or what its impacts will be. And what about the big long-term debt cycle? While the business cycle is widely acknowledged and some people recognize that it is driven by a short-term debt cycle, that is not true for the big long-term debt cycle. Nobody acknowledges it or talks about it. I couldn't find any good studies or descriptions of it in textbooks, and even the world's leading economists, including those who are now running or in the past ran central banks and government treasuries, didn't have much to say about this critically important subject when I explored it with them. That is why I did this study, and I'm passing it along. Before I get into all that, I should begin by explaining where I'm coming from. I don't come to this subject as an economist. I come as a global macro investor who, for over 50 years, has been through many debt cycles in many countries and has had to navigate and understand them well enough to bet on how they would go. I have carefully studied all the big debt cycles over the last 100 years and superficially studied many more from the past 500 years, so I believe that I understand how to navigate them. Because I'm deeply concerned about what I'm seeing, I feel a responsibility to pass along this study for others to assess it for themselves. To gain my understanding, I look at many cases, like a doctor studies many cases, examining the mechanics behind them to understand the cause-effect relationships that drive their progressions. I also learn from being in these experiences, reflecting on what I learn, writing it up, and having smart people read and challenge it. Then I build systems to place my bets on what I learned, and I have new experiences. I do that over and over, and will do it until I die because I love it. Because my game has been to bet on the markets, and because the debt markets drive just about everything, I've been obsessed with studying debt dynamics for decades. I believe that if you understand these dynamics, you can do very well as an investor, business person, or policymaker. And if you don't, you ultimately will be hurt by them. Through my research, I discovered that there are big long-term debt cycles that have unfailingly led to big debt bubbles and busts. I saw that only about 20% of the roughly 750 debt currency markets that have existed.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.